3 best countries to have a piece of land during global conflict and recession. Most people still think that wealth is something abstract, a number in a bank account, a stock portfolio on a screen, a valuation on paper, a property in a city everybody already agrees is expensive. But the smartest capital in the world does not think like that. When uncertainty rises, serious investors start moving away from what is financial, crowded, and easily diluted. And they move towards what is real, productive, and strategically necessary. That is why some of the wealthiest people on earth have been buying what most ordinary investors still ignore: land. Yes, not just any land, of course. Productive land. Because productive land is not only about farming. That is where most people misunderstand the entire thesis. Productive land is about water rights in a world that is becoming more water stressed. It is about food security in a world where supply chains are more fragile than people want to admit. It is about holding a finite asset that can generate income, preserve purchasing power, and sit outside the reach of monetary debasement. And more than anything, it is about sovereignty. Because when you own productive land in the right jurisdiction, you are not just buying dirt. You are buying optionality. You can lease it, you can hold it, you can produce from it, you can build on it, you can live on it, you can pass it on to your family and your grandchildren. And in some cases, you can create a base that gives you real independence if the world becomes more volatile. And it is happening. That is why the right land in the right country matters so much more than most people think. Not every country offers that combination. Some have good soil but unstable governments. Some have cheaper land but weak property rights. Some have good weather but terrible access to water. Some have stability but are already too expensive to offer real symmetry. That is why, in our view, 3 countries stand out more and more clearly for this kind of strategy. And we've talked about them before. Panama, Paraguay, and El Salvador are 3 magical lands, not because they are the same, because they are not, but because each of them offer a specific combination of resource, abundance, strategic positioning, real asset access, and future relevance that makes them increasingly important in a world that is becoming less predictable. Okay, let's start with Paraguay. Paraguay is one of the most quietly strategic land plays in the world right now. It does not have the prestige branding of Switzerland. It does not have the media visibility of Dubai. It does not dominate international headlines. And that is exactly part of the opportunity. The best land strategies are often built in places the public has not fully priced in yet. Paraguay sits in the center of South America. It is often overlooked because it is quiet. But for long-term capital, quiet is often an advantage. The first strength is land value. Paraguay still offers productive agricultural land at pricing levels that feel disconnected from what similar land would cost in the United States, in Western Europe, or even in stronger known agricultural markets nearby. For investors who understand scale, this definitely matters. The economics of accumulation are still possible, but low entry price alone is never enough. Cheap land without strategic depth is just cheap land. What gives Paraguay real depth is water. Yes, that's the key element. Paraguay sits over the Guarani Aquifer, one of the largest freshwater reserves in the world. That is not a minor detail. Yes, that is one of the most important strategic points in the whole thesis, because the future value of land will not be determined only by location or fertility. Increasingly, it will be determined by whether that land has reliable access to clean water in a world where groundwater depletion, drought cycles, and water mismanagement are becoming much more serious. In other words, when you buy land in the right areas of Paraguay, you're not just buying soil. You are buying a position in one of the resources the world will value more and more aggressively over time. Then, there is a legal side. Paraguay is attractive because foreign ownership is accessible. You do not need to belong to some exclusive insider network to participate. You can buy, hold, and structure ownership in a way that still feels practical and understandable. That matters because a strategic asset is only strategic if you can actually control it. And then there is the resilience angle. Paraguay is one of the easiest countries in the region for simple, practical, self-sufficient living because it is straightforward. Good sunlight, land availability, lower density, water access, and space give you the ability to create resilience without insane infrastructure costs. A basic solar setup can already do a lot there. Add water storage, productive ground, simple building strategy, and practical planning, and you can create something that is not just an investment, but a backup system for your life. That is where many people still think too small. They think self-sufficiency means some fantasy bunker project. It does not. Real self-sufficiency means reducing dependence on fragile outside systems. It means having a place that can keep working even if the larger machine becomes more unstable, more expensive, or less reliable. Paraguay gives you that possibility at a level of affordability and calm that is becoming rare in the world. Let's move to Panama. Panama is a different kind of play. Paraguay is quiet, strategic depth. Panama is strategic relevance. Panama already matters internationally. It is not an unknown story. It is one of the most recognized jurisdictions in Latin America for logistics, banking, global movement, and international positioning. Most people understand Panama through the canal, finance, residency, and corporate structures. That is exactly why many still underestimate its land story. Because beyond the beautiful skyline and the legal structures, Panama also offers something very powerful: productive tropical land in a globally connected jurisdiction. That matters because land in Panama is not just about agriculture, it's about combining hard assets with access. Panama has two oceans. It sits in one of the most important trade corridors in the world. It has long attached international investors and globally mobile families. And it has a legal and financial familiarity that reduces friction for foreign capital. That means Panama gives you something very few places do. You can own real productive land inside a jurisdiction that already has international credibility. And then there is water. Panama is naturally rich in rainfalls, rivers, tropical abundance, and fertile zones in a world where water supply is becoming more strategic every year. This is one of Panama's greatest hidden strengths because productive land in a wet tropical country is fundamentally different from land in dry regions where every drop of survival must be engineered at high cost. In Panama, nature is often already working for you. That creates a major advantage, not only for agriculture, but for resilient living. Panama is one of the best countries in the region for building a comfortable, attractive, partly self-sufficient life with relatively simple system because of the climate, because of the sunlight, because of the agricultural potential in the right areas, and you do not need extreme infrastructure to get meaningful independence. Basic solar panels can go a long way. Water capture and storage can be very practical, and food production is realistic. And because the climate is productive year-round, the land itself works harder for you than land in colder, more infrastructure-dependent regions. This is one of the biggest strategic advantages of the tropics. Self-sufficiency is easier where nature is generous. And that is why Panama matters so much. It gives you not only the possibility of owning land, it gives you the possibility of building a base that combines beauty, comfort, access, and resilience. That is rare. That is a very rare combination because many places offer remoteness but not livability. Others offer livability but not independence. Others offer legal certainty but not natural abundance. Panama gives you a much stronger synthesis of all three. And then there is the psychological side for investors. People already know Panama. They understand the name. They understand the international relevance, and they understand the international money moves there. They understand residency, banking, logistics, and mobility. That makes Panama easier for many serious buyers to process than more obscure jurisdictions, even when the land thesis itself is just as strong. So Panama is not just a land story. It's a jurisdictional platform combined with water, abundance, tropical productivity, and the ability to create a highly functional second option. And we know clearly because we live here. Now let's talk about El Salvador. El Salvador is different again. Paraguay is the quiet, deep value play. Panama is the strategic global platform, and El Salvador is the transformation story. And transformation stories matter because that is where repricing happens. For years, El Salvador was dismissed by international investors. Too unstable, too risky, too uncertain, and because of that, many people still carry an outdated mental picture of the country. But serious capital does not make money by buying old headlines. It makes money by identifying where reality is changing faster than perception. That is why El Salvador deserves its proper attention. The country has been repositioning itself dramatically. Security, global attention, and investor curiosity have all shifted. Whether people like every political detail or not is almost besides the point. What matters strategically is that the country is being re-evaluated. And when a country is being re-evaluated, land can still be mispriced relative where that country may be heading. That is where opportunity comes from. El Salvador has fertile volcanic soil, Pacific access, and a compact geography that makes movement, logistics, and future use more practical than in many larger countries. Productive land there is not just about agricultural yield, it's about strategic usability. Then there is water. El Salvador does not have the same water story as Panama in terms of tropical abundance, but it still has meaningful water resources and strong agricultural potential in the right zones. And then you combine water access with volcanic fertility and a favorable climate, you get something that matters a lot: land that can support real productive living. And then again, the climate changes the equation. Like Panama, El Salvador benefits from solar practicality. You do not need an absurdly expensive system to increase your independence. Basic solar infrastructure, efficient design, practical water solutions, and the right land can already create a setup that is far more resilient than what most people have in heavily urbanized countries. That is the real insight. The best second option countries are not just the ones where land is cheap. They are the ones where a relatively simple setup can create a meaningful degree of independence. That is what climate gives you. That is what productive land gives you. That is what water access gives you. And that is what smart jurisdiction selection gives you. El Salvador also offers something else that many investors look for: asymmetry. Because if a country is already fully understood, fully trusted, and fully priced, much of the upside is gone. But if a country is improving faster than the global narrative around it, then early buyers can capture that gap. That does not mean no risk. It means mispricing. And mispricing, when paired with hard assets, is exactly where serious investors like to operate. So when you step back, the logic becomes clear. Paraguay gives you a quiet scale, deep freshwater significance, affordable land, and easy practical resilience. Panama gives you international relevance, strong water supply, tropical abundance, and one of the easiest environments in the region for comfortable, self-sufficient living with basic solar and smart land use. And El Salvador gives you fertile land, a repricing story, workable water access, solar-friendly climate, and the kind of early stage positioning that can reward people who move before the crowd becomes comfortable. 3 countries, 3 different profiles, 1 deeper strategy. And the deeper strategy is not farming. It is sovereignty. It is about reducing your dependence on systems you do not control. It's about holding productive assets that cannot be printed away by a central bank. It's about owning land with utility, not just appearance. It is about understanding that the next decade may reward people who control real resources far more than people who simply hold financial abstractions. Because what happens if inflation stays structurally high? What happens if food becomes more political? What happens if water becomes more valuable? What happens if major cities become more regulated, more fragile, and less attractive? What happens if energy becomes less reliable or more expensive? These are not fringe questions anymore. They are becoming central questions, and that is why productive land in the right countries matter so much. Not because everyone wants to become a farmer, because people want leverage, because they want optionality, because they want a real base, because they want something that still works when other things stop working properly. That is the real intelligence behind the theme. The public sees dirt, serious investors see water, they see food security, they see inflation resistance, they see jurisdictional diversification, they see a second option, they see long-term control. And here, a tropical capitalist, that is exactly what we pay attention to. Not just where things are fashionable, where they are strategically undervalued. Not just where people want to vacation, where they can actually build resilience. Not just where capital already crowded in, where it is only beginning to understand the opportunity. Because in a more fragile world, real wealth may belong less and less to the people who own most financial noise, and more to the people who secure the right assets in the right climates, in the right jurisdictions, before everyone else understands why they matter. And when you look at the map through the lens, Panama, Paraguay, and El Salvador are not random countries, they are serious strategic territories. So, thank you so much for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe. If you want more information about our services, please send us a message in WhatsApp. We don't use assistants, no. You talk directly to us. So thank you so much. Again, the links are in the description box. Send us a text and book a free consultation with us, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
At My Second Option, we're constantly looking for the best investment and the right fit for you. We are out here walking the land, going to the properties, meeting with developers, checking permits, and building the connections that matter. We operate in Panama, Paraguay, and El Salvador, 3 countries full of opportunity, each with their own rhythm and potential. In Paraguay, we focus on sovereign living, low-cost land, legal residency, and long-term value for those who want peace and security outside the noise. In El Salvador, we guide you through the frontier of freedom, from ocean viewscapes to off-grid living in a country embracing innovation, Bitcoin, and new beginnings. And here in Panama, we bring you options, from tropical villas to city apartments to turnkey Airbnb setups in a country with strong infrastructure, 0% tax on foreign income, embracing cryptocurrency, technology, global access, and an international way of living. We handle everything: second citizenship, relocations, real estate, construction, remodelations, development, legal and accounting advice, property management, and more. We help you establish your business through our network with the best in-house team of lawyers and accountants. We're hands-on, transparent, and always tailored to your goals. Whether you're relocating, investing, or just building a plan B, we help you do it right and do it smart. We are always seeking for the right investment for you. So don't hesitate to contact us. Our WhatsApp link is in the description. Or scan the QR code at the end of the video to connect with us directly. And make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more insights. See you on the next one.